It had been 1 month exactly since I made my first kill. The scene still so fresh in my mind, almost like it was yesterday. It was a rather gloomy night. The rain fell hard, and the clouds lulled across the sky, making the outside world even darker than it normally was. My parents were gone, on some business trip. Their little vacations, however, were not a rare occurrence. It happened nearly every week. Some trips lasted for a day or two, others a little over a night. This night, the drip-drop of rain tried to lull me to sleep constantly, as if it were some sort of destiny, my fate presumably. The storm cloud's rumbling was almost loud enough to shake the earth itself. There was no lightning, however. During this time I liked to keep to myself. No one was there to annoy me. I was in a secluded area, and that's how I liked it. The darkness was not something I was fond of at the moment, keep in mind, though if approached with caution, darkness could be opened up to, greeted as if it was an old childhood friend. The tranquility of it all, the solitude it presented, that by itself was a luxury, my friend. A human's mind, however, likes to make believe. It's that child that still roams the depths of our minds, thoughts we had long since forgotten until presented with that fear. Darkness. Our mind tells us it's bad. It means something terrible. In order to convey this message to us, it makes us see shadows that move, and makes clothes on top of a corner look like some sort of demon. It used to be a fear that made all of us hide under our covers, seeking refuge and safety under mere sheets of fabric. And for a long time, it would work. Then we would grow older. We are able to understand darkness more. We understand how beneficial it can be for us, yet we still fear it. For some people, this is a tiny fear. Some people can easily sit in darkness and be at ease. For other people, though, this fear is still strong enough to make us clench our fists around our covers, or a beloved furry creature all stuffed with fluff. It's enough to turn your knuckles white. I myself could easily sit alone in the darkness for hours on end, but given enough time, it does things to you. This is when I had my first encounter with Jeff. There came a time during the night where the darkness of my screen made my eyes ache. The soft, melodious tune the rain created, accompanied by the quiet rumblings, was far too melancholy to resist. I closed my laptop screen, pushing it to the end of my bed. Without a sound, I pulled my covers to my chest and drifted into a seemingly endless slumber. It's a little-known fact that when you wake between 2:30 and 3:30 in the morning, someone is staring at you. I woke up at precisely 2:49 a.m. It was still pouring outside at the time. I assumed that I was awoken by a mighty clap of thunder and thought nothing of it. For some reason, however, I wasn't able to go back to sleep. I couldn't shake off a distant feeling of fear. And that fear that was deep inside me made itself so known that I never wanted to feel such a thing ever again. My stomach started to pain me, my vision started to blur, my head was pounding, and my heart was racing. I took a deep breath and I scanned my room. At first nothing seemed out of the ordinary. A single flash of lightning suddenly crackled outside my window, and though my attention was turned towards the flash, I finally realized why I was so terribly ill. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw him. He had pale white skin, middling ebony hair, large white eyes with black pupils to match. Many people have said the eyes are the window to the soul, and this person's soul is a very dark one indeed. However, his eyes weren't the most noticeable feature he bared. It was his mouth. His lips were cut clean off, and the corners were cut to stretch from ear to ear. I stared at him, wide-eyed, a new sense of adrenaline racing through me. I rolled off my bed in what I would like to describe as a ninja-based youth roll. Really, it was just me rolling clumsily, but no one else needs to know that.
Go to sleep,
he uttered, his voice nothing more than a hushed whisper. I lunged for my bag, peering at him from the corner of my eye. He was closer now, about to jump over my bed. From within my bag, I grabbed the first thing I could that was sturdy enough to handle in such an abusive way as I was about to use. A pair of rusty, orange-handled scissors. Without thinking, I turned my body 90 degrees to the right, facing upwards, stabbing the air with my scissors as a warning. The man seemed unfazed, and took out a rather large knife, the king that butchers might use. In that moment, I had my first real taste of blood, someone else's blood. And there seemed to be nothing that tasted better, besides orange juice. That may have been my fear talking, however. As he came down upon me, I jutted my hands outward, aiming to hit this man in the jugular. I missed. Instead, I created a decent-sized gash on his jawline, and with the short distance between us, while this man was phased, the blood dripped upon my own cheek, creating its own small pool. Pretty soon, the irony raided my mouth, and my senses came alive. I bent my elbow, hitting it against the side of his face with a small force. While the man was in a short daze, I made a break for it. Though, like an incredibly stupid person, I didn't go through the door. I hurriedly unlatched my window and climbed over, jumping down onto the sodden grass below. For a few minutes I lay there in pain, rain pouring down and soaking my clothes, my senses readjusting themselves to their new surroundings, and in that moment I thought I would have died. Adrenaline does things to people, however, and after those few minutes, I managed to get back onto my feet, and I started lightly sprinting. I don't remember every detail of what happened or where I ran to, but I do remember the alleyway I stumbled upon. I gave up. In the moment I was still being pursued, I weakly stumbled to the back, where light was not something that was known. In other words, the area was pitch black. Someone entered the alleyway, and they started to walk towards me. There was no knife, but there was a faint glimmer of something with a metallic surface, and with the very last ounce of strength I had, I attacked. In my own defense, I whipped and lashed at the man, slightly enjoying the pitiful screams they gave off. "Please, have mercy," they uttered to me, holding up their hands in defense. I realized that this wasn't the person that had approached me in my bedroom no less than an hour ago. I dropped my scissors, speechless and full of guilt. I could do nothing more than watch the man slowly bleed to death in that alleyway, their pool of blood soaking, making my socks and pajama pants sodden and crimson. I couldn't even utter out a whimper or a sign of distress. I was too emotionally unbalanced to cry, and for some reason I became very angry. "So, how was it?" came a slightly familiar voice. My eyes widened once more as soon as I realized who it was. "They didn't deserve to die," I muttered, my hand moving gradually towards my scissors once more, until I had a firm hold on them. "Yeah, that might be true. There's no going back on it now, though, is there?" He chuckled. I stood, his mere presence making me infuriated. "You think this is funny?" I spat, fixing my stance for an attack. "Do you think death is something funny? Something enlightening? This man just died and all you can do is laugh." For a moment, just 1 second, he seemed taken aback by my words. He gave me a noticeable glare, looking at me like I was some ignorant fool preaching words I knew were false. He opened his mouth to speak, but no words would come out. And that is how I came to know Jeff the Killer.